If you think studying in Korea is easy, it is not easy. Hello, this is Justin, and here's another video for you. This is not to scare you or just to give you, I'm just here to give you a reality check of what a student's life will gonna be here in South Korea, especially if you're a GKS student in 2025. So as you all know, the Global Career Scholarship Program is open especially for graduate studies. The undergraduates will be opened in October 2025. But in general, studying in Korea as a foreigner is very challenging. It goes a lot of things, especially with the difference in how student life here compared to your home country, being away from your family, studying a course or a major that is taught in a different course. All these things make our life here as a student very difficult. And here are some of the realities that you have to watch out for when you go here to South Korea to study. Not all international affairs office are functional. And that's one thing you have to deal with when you go here and study in South Korea. That sometimes even the international affairs office are not really that well internationalized. Almost all of them are Korean and with limited level of communication in English. And with that comes a lot of challenges in terms of communication. When it comes to the scholarship, the information about the activities in the school, be it name it, there'll be a challenge, especially if there's a transition or translation from Korean to English and English to Korean. That's one challenge because a lot of announcements from NIAD are coursed through the International Affairs Office, and if your International Affairs Office is not as good or as functional, that will be a challenge. Likewise, there are a lot of things that you have to watch out for when it comes to your student life, and that is the language that you're going to be using during your course. I'm lucky because I was able to select an English track, so all my classes are in English. But there are courses or there are classes that are 100% in Korean. So if your Korean language is not that good, this is the time to start studying Korean and improving that Korean language proficiency, because when it comes to school setting, the language used for teaching is quite complex. It's not conversational Korean. Topic level 6 Korean does not really translate to high comprehension when it comes to the Korean language, especially in school setting. Another reality for you is there are a lot of activities here in South Korea for students. However, those activities are given or allotted usually for undergraduates, but Korean undergraduate students or sometimes Korean graduate students. For us foreigners, you'll probably hear a lot of words of ilban. Ilban is something that is other. That's I usually understood ilban. But the thing is, you are part of that ilban group. So usually you're not really prioritized to a lot of events. So for example, there's a spring festival, there's an autumn festival in your school. Unfortunately, you're not prioritized for those activities are for undergraduate Korean students or graduate Korean students, and as a foreigner you can just watch on the sidelines and rarely be able to participate on those activities. If you're especially GKS, they know that you're a scholarship student, the more you'll feel that you're not really belonging to the activities, because technically you're being paid by the school. Unlike the other way around, the students enrolled in the university are actually paying to study, and therefore the perks of attending these events are part of what they paid for. Majority of student life here in South Korea is also very lonely, especially for studying. And as a student, as a GKS, you only receive certain amount of money. It's up to you if you'll be working or not. But if you decide not to study, the thing is, you have to use that money to study and nothing else. So traveling, enjoying, you have limited amount of money and time to do so. So it tends to get lonely and sad, unfortunately. And you cannot really go home immediately or quickly because on the first 6 months, once you arrived here in South Korea and you're doing your Korean language classes, you cannot really go out of the country. There's a stipulation in the contract. Unless there's an emergency in your home country that you have to attend to, you have medical activities that you have to attend to, those things are excused. But again, you cannot just go out of the country in the first 6 months just because it's something should have been very critical or very important happening that would render you the opportunity to go outside of the country and go back home. And that's something that you have to keep in mind. And as mentioned, it gets lonely, especially if, for example, there are few people from your home country. Unlike, for example, countries like Philippines, Southeast Asian countries, there are a lot of Southeast Asian students here in South Korea. So it's easier for us to, mingle and get together and eat some of our food. But for example, if you're from countries wherein there are less slots and less people here in South Korea, it's harder to get the sense of community. Unless you have that Korean proficiency, you'll be able to communicate with the Korean students and form your own groups. This is just a quick chat and a reality check for you. But don't be discouraged. These are part of the process alongside the training program. It's more of making you feel, it's up to you. It's really up to you. I tried my best to look on the bigger and better picture when I was studying, and fortunately, I was able to cope with the stress and homesickness, and now I'm working here in South Korea. Eventually, if you really want to work here in South Korea, I'll be making videos in the future, but for now, here are some of the guides, some reality check, some tips of studying and living here in South Korea. As a global career scholar, hope to see you here. Bye bye.